Good day, YouTube. Back with another video here. And this is just a video for the 2025 Chevy Traverse that I've been working on. I ran into an issue after actually completing the vehicle, and it's the engine coolant control valve. Now, I finalized this car and put everything back together, but when I connected it to my OBD2 sensor, this is the code that I got. So I ended up having to do some research on how can I go about removing this part. And what you will see here is me removing the part, but without having to remove the whole bumper, the radiator, and the condenser, which I've seen from other videos. Now, removing the condenser, that would require a recharge because you lose all the gas from the air conditioner. But need behold, I've kind of been tooling around with it, and I just found a simpler way that worked for me, and I wanted to create a video here. Now, this is the engine. I've already removed the top cover, and then I'm working on removing the air coolant, which connects to the throttle body, just to see if I could have more access to remove all of the neighboring parts here. Now, this is the throttle body, and keep in mind, while doing this work, these cars underneath the hood, everything is just so neighbored to each other that it's hard to actually get to a part without moving another neighboring part. And that's what happened here. The radiator fan shroud that sits anterior to the engine here, I believe I only had 4 inches to work with. So I ended up having to just relocate the top portion of the bumper. I had to advance it just to give me more room to visualize what I was doing here. And also, by me being able to advance the fan shroud and the radiator with the condenser. Now, keep in mind, everything in these mechanisms here are still connected. I did not remove any of the hoses that ran through the radiator. What I did, I removed the tie bar and the bolts that actually held the radiator in place to the frame. And I was able to unhinge it from the frame and just let one side of it dangle. And then by me doing that, I was able to advance the whole portion of that mechanism towards me, which gave me more freehand access just to get my tools into place. Now, you do need a long socket to do this because these bolts are, I'd say, about 6 inches deep within the parts here. So I needed something long to actually reach the bolts. That way I could actually remove them from the motor. And I kind of was able to access it that way. Now, this is the active grill shutter and also the radiator with the fan and condenser, which I'm advancing here just to give me a bit more room to get to this module that sits inferior to the throttle body. And as you can see, this is it here. Now, I would also recommend that when getting to this part, I ended up having to remove so many other things. So it's a good idea to actually record small video clips when you're removing the parts or take pictures. That way, when you finally get to the point where the part is in and you're putting it back together, you have sort of a landmark to go through so that you're not kind of lost in the process. Now, this is the module which actually had to be replaced. Due to the front end damage from this vehicle, it kind of pushed everything in. The frame bar, the radiator kind of pushed against that module, and I guess it damaged it. I'm not sure if it was just a harness, but I did check the harnesses and they seem to be fine. But this is it, YouTube. I actually was able to successfully remove this part. And as you can see, the motor sits transverse on this vehicle, and this module sits superior to where the starter is. But these parts are just so compact and they sit so close to each other that in order to comfortably have room to work with your tools around things, you do have to remove parts, and that's where most of the work comes from. So it is very labor intensive, and a majority of the mechanics who actually work are getting paid by the hour. And since this part is so hidden deep within the engine, it requires a lot of time to actually gain access to it. So, like I said before, it's not just a part that you're replacing, but it's the process of having to remove the front cap of the vehicle just to gain access to that one part. Now that I'm finally putting everything back together, I already got the module in and I made sure that all of the harnesses were properly connected. And this is the throttle body. I've already put in the top screws, but that bottom screw, just to be on a safe side, I would also suggest that you do something to actually hold the screws in place, because while putting in that bottom screw, there is a chance that it could actually slip off of the socket, and it may become difficult to retrieve the screw because it can get lodged into certain areas that's just hard to reach with your hands, and sometimes it's just hard to visualize where it falls. So either using some tape or having a magnetic socket, I find to be a good tool or way of doing things so that you don't run into those issues. Now back to putting everything back together here. Now the same way I took everything off, it's just a reverse process on how I'm putting everything back in, making sure that all of the bolts are torqued to the proper specs as how I remove them. And as you can also see, YouTube, the front cap of the vehicle is actually still in place, but I just unbolted the top portions of the bumper and I kind of let it just float there. And also by removing the impact bar, which sits anterior to the radiator and condenser, I removed that because it allowed me to unhinge one side of the radiator and kind of just let it fall forward, which gave me more access to actually get my tools in to get to the bolts here that were mounted to the engine of these parts. It's also good to have a long socket because some of these screws are actually real deep, so I used a 6-inch socket, which allowed me to reach where the bolts were. And it's real difficult to actually reach in without having to remove the whole front mechanism of the vehicle here. And that's what I actually wanted to avoid, because from other videos, there were just a lot of complaints of having to do so much labor to remove one part. And the way this engine is just designed, it's designed for labor. And that's where most of the cost actually comes in at. Just to get to this part, you're not just unbolting that one part, but you're removing everything which surrounds that part. So that's the only way to actually have access. But that's just the way the engineers over at Chevy decided to build this vehicle. And due to this construction, to get to certain parts, it's going to require time to actually remove the front end of the vehicle, which I was told that is recommended. That's just how they do it. The whole front end has to come off the car. But as you can see here, YouTube, by me just removing bits of the part accessories here with some of the parts to the engine, and also just unhinging the top of the bumper and removing the impact bar and letting that radiator advance forward, outward, it gave me enough room to squeeze my hands in and actually get to the parts that I needed to get to. Now putting everything back together here, as you can see, I'm topping everything off, making sure that the fluid levels are fine, but also looking out for leaks, making sure that nothing is leaking here. Now, I also was told that this part needed to be programmed in order for it to work. But as you can see here, YouTube, this is 2 weeks in of actually making this recording. And all of the warning signs are gone here. I'm not getting that code anymore. I actually did not even have to clear it from the system. So for me, this part seems to have been a part that was plug and play. Now, as you can see here, everything is put together. This is the Chevy Silverado, and I've also decided to put a front spoiler and also the side steps here just to give it a little different look compared to the other ones that are out there.